Hey guys, welcome to the ARMR Report. Let's try this again. I'm your host, Brett Rosenthal. This is a show about stock market investing. Today's show is going to focus on our favorite sector, the cannabis sector. I'm going to talk about recent risk-on opportunities and some of our favorite names. I'm going to discuss the opportunities, risk-reward, cannabis, US versus Canada. Then I'm going to drill down into some individual stocks that I've received some requests from subscribers about. And I'm going to talk about Cresco Labs as one example. I'm going to talk about Trulieve as another. Before I dive into it, let's remember what the show is about. It's my own personal approach to investing. I've been doing this over 30 years. So I'm sharing with you what I do in my own portfolio. It's a live trading desk. Got screens all around me. Sometimes a phone rings, I get interrupted. Please bear with me if that happens. So I manage my own capital. I manage capital for high net worth investors. All of it's through Interactive Brokers. The best way for you to view and understand what it is I'm trying to do with this live stream is to capture the bigger picture of how to manage risk and how to focus and learn to invest correctly. So this is for educational purposes. I'm not telling you how to trade or what stocks to buy. I'm telling you what I do for myself, but my risk profile is obviously going to be different than yours. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get to the topic of the day, investing in cannabis. I start all my investing processes by looking at the big indexes. If the big indexes are telling us risk on, and we have algorithms for that, then we start drilling down into our favorite groups and our favorite stocks. On YouTube, I've started a couple of playlists for you. Right now, you're watching the marijuana, cannabis, hemp playlist, where I'm always talking about those investments. I also have a how to invest playlist, where it's specifically designed to discuss risk management and algorithmic investing using indexes and ETFs. And then I've just started a new playlist for you, which is investing for beginners. And I'm going to share with you things I've learned over 30 years of doing this in short bursts, hopefully shorter videos, where I just try to discuss one particular topic I think is very important. The first topic we did yesterday was about the Federal Reserve and how liquidity affects investing, and it's really the only thing you have to worry about from a big picture standpoint. You can forget about Trump and anything going on in the political world and just focus on liquidity. The rise and falls lead to stock market performance. But this show and this channel is all about cannabis, so let's get to it. We have a risk-on entry point across the board in the big indexes last week. So then we jump into the cannabis space, our favorite space. And we look to see how's it progressing. Subscribers have asked me about the ETFs. Yes, you can own the ETFs. Nothing wrong with that. That's MJ or YOLO. Those are the symbols. YOLO or MJ. I don't use them because when I look at those stocks and I look at what they own, and you could do that yourself. You can go to ETF.com. Full disclosure, nobody pays me to say that. I really like that website. It's just the easiest way to understand ETFs. So if you're ETF investing, you should become very familiar with that website, ETF.com. And you can see what stocks they own. I don't like a lot of the stocks that they own in MJ and YOLO. I'm trying to high grade my portfolio. I say that over and over and over again. I want to own the best companies with the most cash, best management teams, best intellectual property. I want to build a moat around my portfolio and high grade it at the beginning of an investing super cycle. So I don't use those ETFs, okay? What I do, and if you are already following me on Twitter, thank you. And I suggest all of you watching this follow me on Twitter because I try to update, obviously, more frequently than I do these streams, what it is we're focused on. So over the last couple of days, and specifically yesterday, I'm going to take you to my Twitter feed real quick. I'm going to share it with you so you can see the charts that I'm looking at. Okay? I put these charts up for you yesterday. What you see now is a chart of a classic cup and handle in the most important cannabis company, which is Canopy Growth. The light green is the cup with the handle. The entry date was the 7th of June, right below the 200-day moving average, which is that green line. Okay? Risk on entry. I published that on our Twitter feed. It's hashtag ARMR Report, ARMR Report, or you can follow me at Brett Rosenthal. B-R-E-T, that's 1 T, Rosenthal. All right, I also published this, Kronos Group, okay? 6.6 last week. Great risk on entry point, again, at the 200-day moving average, this green line here. And the third is Aurora Cannabis, ACB. Notice how all three of these big Canadian leadership names have found support at their 200-day moving average and have given risk on buy signals there. Okay? So that tells us that the group is trying to get going again. Very difficult month of May for the cannabis stocks, but they're making an attempt, and the leadership is leading that attempt. Kronos, 1.8 billion from Altria. Canopy, 4 billion from Constellation Brands. Aurora, I mean, I could go on, but these are the top three names. So let's get to the next topic on cannabis right now. Canadian versus US. Okay, hear me clearly. This is very important. At the beginning of an investing super cycle, you have to high grade your portfolio, because the way to make money long term is to own the names that institutions are buying. It's not my buying, it's not your buying or your buying or your buying that puts the stock up. It's when CalPERS pension plan buys, which is a multi-billion-dollar plan, starts to buy millions of shares of cannabis companies. It's when BlackRock or Fidelity or any of these big guys decide to put a lot of money in the space. That's when these trading vehicles become real long-term investment vehicles. They're not there yet. They're starting to come, and they're coming first to the big Canadian names. So at the beginning of a risk on entry point, we focus where institutions are focused, and that's the big Canadian names. And we see the chart patterns of the top three are setting up perfect for a risk on entry. If this risk on entry works, then we'll see over the next couple of weeks some of the US names follow. But the US names are very risky, guys. A lot of risk, a lot of reward, but a lot of risk. There's more risk in the US than Canada. The reason is liquidity. The US names trade on the Canadian Stock Exchange. It's a small exchange. Most investors have a hard time finding it. Institutions aren't putting money there. And that's why you have wicked sell-offs in the month of May in those stocks, because there's no institutional support. Do I own some in the portfolio? Yes, I have some core positions. They're small. And I'll jack them up and make them bigger at certain times, and I think it's appropriate. But now's not the time. Right now, we have to see if we can make money in the Canadian names, where institutions are actually buying. Because if we can't make money there, we're not going to make money in the US names. So that brings me to a question a subscriber asked me. Should he be buying Cresco? He likes the company. And you know who you are, subscriber. Listen, I really appreciate your comments. And in one particular comment, you said to me that I've made a lot of great calls in the last couple of months. You said, and I think it's something to this respect, you've made a lot of great calls so far. So far. I want to address the so far. And I'm going to have a live stream for beginning investors that's going to focus on what I'm about to say. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be wrong. You don't really need the so far. It's going to happen. Investing is not about being right. It's about making money. My ego needs to be nowhere near the decision process. I'm going to be wrong. You're going to be wrong. Everybody who invests is wrong. The guys who are successful are the guys who recognize the entry points that are dangerous and protects capital first. We need to get rid of the idea of right or wrong. That's not the point. Put capital to work when the probabilities are in your favor. Put capital to work when the reward's worth the risk. And then make sure you protect capital if that entry point is not ideal. So then you stay on the entry points that work and make you a lot of money. And if you have to, you get out of the entry points that don't work. Get back to cash and wait. Okay? So I'll address more of that tomorrow when I do my Investing for Beginners masterclass. But to get back to cannabis, let's talk about Cresco specifically. I love Cresco. I like the management team. I like their business model. They're not just an aggregator like Acreage, just kind of collecting a whole bunch of licenses, and that's why they're being taken over by Canopy. But Cresco's got a lot of licenses, but they're also focused on building the right business. And I like that their focus are in the markets that I like. So they're focused in Illinois, which just passed recreational use. They're focused in Nevada. I don't have to explain that one. And they're focused now in Florida. They just bought VitaCann. And so you're going to start to see the ramp in Florida for them. Florida, and this is something I heard on the conference call that Cresco said on the 29th of May, which is just really amazing to me. The growth of medical marijuana patients in Florida is increasing exponentially. We're up to over 10,000 people a week now that are becoming medical marijuana participants. Only a couple months ago, it was 3,000. A couple months before that, it was 1,500. I mean, the ramp is unbelievable in Florida. So I do focus on retailers, dispensaries, MSOs. They're all the same, right? Vertical operators. I focus on the ones that have Florida exposure because I think Florida is a very important market. So Cresco fits the bill. But, and I'm not telling you how to invest, my friend. You do what you think is right for you. If you want to own it, own it. But for my money, the way I put my money to work, a new risk-on entry point in the market and for cannabis stocks or any group, it's risky at the beginning of a risk-on opportunity, right? So we have to see if it's going to work. So I high grade the portfolio first. I go where institutions are going first. And if I see money coming into the space, then I broaden out into names that have higher risk but potentially higher reward. And so I'm just not there yet with the U.S. cannabis companies. So I hope that answers your question. I like Cresco. It's on my list. But personally, I'm not putting money to work yet. You do whatever you feel comfortable with. At the end of the day, that's the only way to make money. Doing what you feel comfortable with, not what someone else tells you. Unless I'm literally managing your money, in which case I'll make those decisions for you, or we'll make them together. But for the sake of these YouTube videos, you got to make the decision on your own. It does lead me to one last thought I'll leave here before we sign off. The marijuana business in Florida is becoming more and more important with this massive ramp of marijuana participants. Just the other day, I think it was yesterday, maybe? The 10th. Yeah, that was yesterday. Nikki Fried, who's the agricultural commissioner in Florida, put together a medical marijuana advisory committee. And I published this on Twitter. So if you're following me on Twitter, hashtag ARMR Report, you would have read this story. And what I want you to notice when you read all the names that are on this advisory board, there's only one CEO from one Florida MSO, one Florida retail dispensary company. Do you know who it is? I'm listening. Anybody out there? Oh, did you just say Kim Rivers? You're right. Kim Rivers of Trulieve. Trulieve has a massive advantage over its competition, and I think they're going to be able to keep that advantage for quite some time to come. So that's a stock I have on my whiteboard. This is not a recommendation to run out and buy it. It's a recommendation to do your own homework. Listen to conference calls. Listen to what Kim has to say. She's dialed in to the Florida market. And I think it's one of the most important markets emerging in the country for medical marijuana and then eventually recreational use. I hope this has been helpful, guys. Thank you for joining me today. Please don't forget to like this video, comment, let me know what you're thinking. I'll try to cover your thoughts on subsequent videos. And of course, subscribe and join us. All right, guys, take care. Be safe out there today.